Doopity doop doop.
Always made of gold. Oh, Lord. Hang on, okay. You maybe can't even see it in the video. Okay. So we cut most of the album at the Nutt House recording studio in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Jimmy Nutt, he's the one that owns that studio. Jimmy is like the sweetest guy, and he's brilliant when it comes to sound engineering. He's a Grammy winner for that. So it was really a privilege to work with him and see what he could put on this album.
Jimmy's great. The guys that work for him up there were fantastic. We were able to flow in and out real easy. It didn't take a lot of time to get the right takes. And everybody just had a good time. It was just real friendly and creativity oriented.
Working with a co-producer is definitely something I've never done before. Having someone with a lot of music experience really comes into play, especially with like the really little things that you wouldn't think would make a difference in the song, but it does.
So having that collaborative process and having more input on your album actually helped us. I know sometimes having too many hands in a project can be too much. We did one song, Made of Gold, at Fame. For piano on that song, we had Clayton Ivey join us. He is an excellent piano player. It was so impressive to walk in and realize I'm going to be recording in the studio where Aretha Franklin stood, where Steven Tyler stood. It was a lot of pressure at the same time, but it was one of those things where I was just soaking in the history as I was recording. And so when it came to singing Made of Gold, it just came natural. I don't know if it's just the place or what, but it felt so easy.
Yeah, it was my first time recording in a professional studio. Usually in the past, how we've done recordings is just record it in our studio garage, and we'll send, whatever mix we have recorded off to, get mixed and mastered.
So recording in studio is just completely different than recording yourself. The room, the way that, the drum kit is mic'd, sound isolation, there's a lot that goes into it. And recording in studio for the first time really allowed us to hone in on our individual craft and get the perfect sound.
When we've recorded in the past, we've been able to do one song at a time, spend a week or two on it, and just focus on that one song, where it's kind of opposite in the studio, where you kind of spend a couple weeks or months preparing to do all the songs at one time, which kind of seemed daunting. When you get in the studio, it really wasn't as bad as it felt like it, but it was definitely exhausting playing that many songs just back to back to back over a 2-day period.
I did have a lot of struggles with recording in studio. I'm not going to lie about that. Recording in studio is something that is very exciting for me, but also very stressful, just in the sense that, I'm very hard on myself. But when it came to vocals, that was probably the hardest and most difficult, because when you're working in studio, you have a certain time frame that you have to work within, so you're trying to get as much done as possible in a short amount of time. I think, the one day we worked on vocals from like 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m. and I thought I had good stamina, and I did up until about, 6 p.m. that night. There was a lot of difficulty in that, just allowing yourself to accept, okay, it all can't be done at one time. We're going to try it again later, and we really need to make sure that we put our best efforts forward. And when you get tired, it gets a little frustrating, because you want to get it done. You're so excited to get it done, but you have to realize what your limits are and get ready to attack it at another time, so the product and the end result is better. So that was a little bit of a learning experience for me, but it definitely was worth it. There was this really cool opportunity we had where we had taken a lunch break in the break room upstairs, and we were just sitting around chatting, and then this gentleman walks in, and As soon as he walked in, I recognized him as Spooner, a huge, impactful member of the Swampers from Fame Recording Studio. Back in roughly the 60s, he was very influential in the music industry. So to have him walk in while we were cutting our album was like, it was mind-blowing. Post-production is everything that happens after you've been in studio. So it's working out all of the final details, like backing vocals, any little guitar sounds. If you're gonna put like cowbell, MIDI, anything like that in your song, that's what post-production is. Post-production for our album entailed a lot of work on my part and Marty's part, and we just kind of sat down and listened to each song. Marty showed me, some different guitar riffs that I could do to put in there and different sounds, and then we really worked on, especially for Bite My Tongue, the different harmonies, the oohs, the ahs, all that. Studio time, there's a lot more pressure because you are limited on time, and so you're just trying to put out the best that you can as quickly as you can. Whereas in post-production, it's like, okay, this is it. This is it for the song. So you are thinking of all of your last creative bits that you can add to this song. There were times where I was pushed to my limits again. The guitar parts, it was something like, I love the sound of this that Marty was playing, and he's like, okay, now you play it. And I was like, what? I'm not ready to play this yet. Like, it takes me time to learn guitar pieces. But he pushed me to really my limits as a guitarist and even as a vocalist. I remember getting ready to do this big vocal yell in the very beginning of Bite My Tongue, and this was an idea that I had, and I showed it to Marty, and he was like, yeah, that's great, but once you get to this point where you're doing that yell, let's try to go even higher and bring it up and then bring it down. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is already like at the top of my range. But I tried it, and I was so shocked that I could actually do it. My whole body was shaking as I hit that note, but it worked out, and I'm so glad that I was pushed to the limit. Once again, having another co-producer or somebody in on the song that's pushing you to grow, not only with the song, but as an artist and as a musician, is really something special. For Better in a Straitjacket, Marty and I were working on the backing vocals at the very end. And for some reason, I just could not find the notes he was trying to sing. Like, when he would sing it to me, I could be right there with him. But as soon as it was like solo time for me to do it, I couldn't find it again. I lost it immediately. So at some point after trying a lot, I asked Marty, I was like, Marty, can you just like come out here and like sing it to me? And what I had meant was come out here and sing the notes beside me, and then I'll go ahead and reproduce it just so it's like it's right there. What Marty thought I meant was come sing with me on the actual recording. So Marty and I actually sang together for the backing vocals at the end chorus, and it was something I wasn't expecting to happen, but I'm so grateful that it did happen because our voices, I don't know, it just came together, and it was another one of those sentimental moments, I guess, where, co-producer and myself come together to create this album with the band, and now we get to actually put our part in together vocally as well and put our footprint in on the song. I don't know that the genre for this EP is necessarily different from our prior ones. I definitely think it's a different theme overall, but it's still true to Jumping the Gun, in my opinion.
I don't think there was anything different. I just think it's a continuation on what we've been doing.
Our first few albums were very experimental in trying to find our sound. And I feel like this is probably the first one where we've been fully confident, like this is, who we are, this is our sound, this is what we want to go after.